Good morning, armor down. How'd you sleep? I slept well. So, we're talking about the difference between agency and ego. And so, the basic idea behind agency is that there's far greater choice around where to put our attention and thus how our bodies react, how our minds react to any kind of thing that's going on around us. So we can shift out of a way of thinking about something. We can shift from the fullest experience of an emotion by putting our attention somewhere else. Um, Basically, that there is a choice to how we participate with not only what's going on, but how we participate with what we perceive. That's agency. Ego. Ego, on the other hand, is more of a default. It has more to do with this is the way it is. This is obvious. This is clearly the reality. The challenge with that is that we often don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are, meaning what we're seeing, what we're perceiving, what we're reacting to, what we're expecting has far more to do with conditioning, habits, patterns, projections, and ideologies, manipulations. As a culture that shares language, that shares space, we are susceptible to ways of viewing the world, ways of participating with the world that are framed out for us and that are described in a kind of an obvious way, right? It's like, this is obviously this. Because this is obviously this, the choices are obviously this and this. So, what I want to point out is that without awareness, without agency, it's very easy to get caught up in an ideological construction of the way things are and the way things should be. And what happens is you are inside of it without even realizing you're inside of it. So there's a guy named Louis Althusser. He's a famous anthropologist, sociologist, and he talked about something called ideology and something called interpellation. So ideology is a structure of understanding that kind of creates a reality for people. So inside of an ideology, people aren't interacting with their real conditions of existence. They're interacting with a framework. And that framework is designed in a powerful way. That's what I mean by interpellation. It's designed to create an obvious choice, a choice between this or that. And that's it. So the whole could be this, but the ideology presents the whole as this. And inside that, there's just these obvious choices. And so part of how that works is through this thing called interpellation. So interpellation was a hard concept for me to understand. Interpellation is what it means when I say, hey, don't think of a purple elephant. That's interpellation by the very nature of the fact that you can understand English. If I say don't think of a purple elephant, there's going to be a flash of a purple elephant inside your mind because you understand English. So this reaction, this quickness, this interwovenness of language, this interwovenness of kind of the extended mind. That's an Andy Clark term as well. We've talked about him before. But the kind of the relationship, the shared, because think about language, and this is Virginia Woolf, for example. Language doesn't exist out there in the dictionary. Language exists between us. So it exists in our minds. The words aren't meaningful because they're in a dictionary. The words are meaningful because we share them, and they're meaningful between us, and then the dictionary catches up, right? So words don't exist on paper. Words exist between us. And so there's these, I mean, I know this sounds like a lot, and I'm sorry that it is, and I wish it could be more simple, but the reality is that because we are social, because we share language, because we can understand each other, we are inside of these structures of reality that we have to be aware of. And then we have to develop the skills to have agency to choose, is this where I want to put my attention? Because I know that my attention is valuable. Now, again, follow the money. What does social media make money off of? Our attention. So our attention is the value. And I've also posited that the fact that you can move attention around, that's agency. What's moving it around? What's moving that attention? Right? So there's an aspect of us that is doing the choosing. Are you aware of that? Now, if you're not asking yourself on a regular basis, or you're not training yourself on a regular basis to be able to move your attention around, to notice when ideology is calling out to you, to notice when zeitgeist is driving your perception of something. Remember, Anaïs Nin, right? We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. Are you aware of that? Is that something that kind of you get? And then, do you know what to do about that? Now, we've talked about this a lot from the warrior perspective, because you go into a combat zone, it's less of an ideological construction as much as it is a structure to save your life, the life of the people you're with, and then complete the mission. It's very quick. In combat, time is compressed. Everything happens fast. In a civilian world, the time is not so compressed. It's long, it's flowy, it's got this long pattern, long tail. Combat's quick, it's fast. The ideological construction of a military unit has got lots and lots of frameworks, but it's very much geared towards survival. So it's got a different flavor to it. So you come out of that, it's very evident that you're going from one kind of structure to this new structure that's got so many different variables. It's so obvious. It's very disorienting. So Armor Down was originally created to help facilitate that new understanding, and like, oh, okay, here's what I can do about the fact that everything that I know is so different. Well, now, think about where we've come. By the time you're watching this, everything's going on in Ukraine right now. So by the time you're watching this, we have gone from September 11th, okay, about 20 years of war. Wars basically end. Pandemic starts, almost 3 years of pandemic. And now war in Europe. And so here we are in a global society. Americans interacting with all that September 11th to now. Now there's even more stuff going on. Stock markets plunging, oil's going up. All this stuff is going on. And remember, we have these brains that are trying to predict. They're trying to predict what's going to happen, and we don't know. We don't know. For a while, that experience was very much because, so much of America was predictable. So really, for the warrior coming back from a deployment, it's like, oh gosh, this is so different. I don't know my brain literally doesn't know what to predict, and I don't know what to do about that. Well, now here we are as a global society going through the same kind of stuff. It's hard. It's real hard. And it's especially hard if you don't know how to be in more charge. If you don't know how to armor down from all this stuff, find deeper peace, find moments of deep peace. If you don't know how to do that, you're going to get pulled in whatever direction fits with you. It can be into some kind of ideological construction, which, these a lot of media entities want to create boxes for people. You fit here, you fit here, you fit here. And go in something like that. Go in depression, so maybe your systems, all your internal systems really start to tank. Your hormone levels start to tank. You really get spun into this really dark place. And now your inner environment is like, an engine that's running off of like really, really dirty fuel. So even though it's running, it's just running at a very, very low rate, and you're just kind of sinking into that. If you don't have these kinds of tools, if you don't know that you have agency around all this stuff, it's going to get harder. It really is. You've got to know that you've got agency, because remember, we don't necessarily see things as they are. We see things as we are. Now, what to do about that? That's the practice. First is taming the mind. Russia's invaded Ukraine. The stock market's tanking. Inflation's going up. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay for this? Trash people haven't come for weeks. My friends got COVID. Your brain doesn't know what to predict. You don't know where to turn. Armor down. Tame the mind. First bell. Tame the mind. Okay, so you bring the mind into the present moment. So just real quick, let's not even go into the bells. Let's just think about it. It's just in the moment. You're watching the news. You're spinning out. Tame the mind. Go to sight, light and shadow. No matter where you are, there's light and shadow that you haven't noticed. So be curious. Look around. As you start to look around and recognize things that you didn't see before, a sense of curiosity. Oh, there's some sounds I didn't notice. Oh, there's some taste in my mouth that I didn't notice. Or, oh, there's a smell. I didn't notice that smell. All of a sudden, the present moment starts to show up. The mind is becoming tame. Let's train the mind, Bell 2. Train the mind. Okay, let's go through the body. Let's interact with the body. Oh, see? Right there. Jaw. Let's go to the ground. Okay, study your ground. The mind can go anywhere, in any time. The ground is right now, right beneath you. Go to the ground. Go to the ground. What do you feel underneath your butt? What do you feel underneath your feet? What parts of your body are touching the ground? Move up a level. Come to the pelvic region, the region of the genitals, the bottom. What's going on down there? Maybe move it a little bit. Tuck the tailbone, untuck the tailbone. Feel the movement. Come to the core. So what are we doing here? We're setting up the body to be in its best posture. This, not best posture. This over time creates problems. This over time builds structure. Problems over time, structure, alignment, sustainability over time. So build your posture, core, then heart space. Heart space includes the whole upper torso. This is three-dimensional, right? All the way around. Heart space, so here's my chest bone right there. Go all the way around. Shoulder blades. Move the shoulder blades. If you pull your shoulder blades back, feel the cross of the chest expand. Round the shoulders forward, feel the shoulder blades separate. Find middle. Choice, agency. You can participate here. You're participating with the present moment. And oh, by the way, we're now, 2 minutes, 3 minutes into being present. Systems starting to settle. Parasympathetic nervous system starting to be more activated. Sympathetic nervous system starting to downgrade. We're starting to armor down. We're starting to get into the present moment. We're getting through the chunks of armor that have all been kind of presented, right? Throat space, top of the head. Feel the whole spine, the entire spine. Now, capitalize on your breath. Your breath is that place that you can rely on. You can practice forever. As long as you're alive, your breath is always there, always ready to be grounding. And then when you practice that smooth interaction with your breath, you can shift things. It's a skill set that's immeasurably valuable. It's so valuable. Your breath is to your present moment the same way that firearms were to the military. Firearm, all of a sudden, there's all these different options for how to engage in violence with the firearm. It's infinite. It's like black powder. It's like, all of a sudden, there's all these new options. The kind of the opposite of that. To create war, right? The opposite of to create war is to create peace. Okay. To create peace, facilitate a deeper peace, the breath. First, you just got to notice it. Its location, right? So just notice where your breath is. Then notice the intensity of your breath, how fast it's going in and out. And what's its direction? Up and down, side to side, forward, back. How deep is it? Is your breath deep in your body? Can you feel it deep, deep in the depths of your body? Or do you feel it more periphery, towards the skin? How big is your breath? Now practice this agency to choose to breathe in a way that would feel good. Maybe there's an area that's tight that you can feel, that you can notice. Maybe take your breath there. So maybe there's an upward area that would feel good, breathing to the upper ribs in the back. Maybe there's a down breath, a deep down in the belly that would feel good. What if you took your breath down towards your belly button or all the way towards your anus? What if you went all the way down with your air and just felt that space? What if it felt good to hold at the top a little bit and let it go and just feel the release? What if that felt good? Just inside of third bell. Now everything's starting to chill out. You're engaged with the present moment. The breath is the training ground of the inner world. Interoception. If you want to learn how to interocept, to feel the inner world, to feel where emotions show up, study the breath. The breath is where all that stuff takes place. So we go and we study and we learn and we practice agency with the breath, we practice agency of attention, and now we practice agency of open-heartedness. Fourth bell, getting to the place of open-heartedness. You cannot think your way through or be intellectually more powerful than your heart can be capable of managing challenge. Your intellect is not your best resource for managing emotions, for managing the challenges of life. Your greatest level of agency, your greatest power as a human being is not your mind, it is your heart. Your heart has an infinite amount of space. It is the thing that is most closely associated with the idea that there's more to us than our physical form, there's more to us than our intellectual form. Your heart represents the closest thing to kind of the mystery of the human experience. And so when an open heart is available, nothing can take it over. An open heart is the most powerful force in the world, period. If you don't believe me, read all the ancient texts, read all the sacred scriptures, read everything, read it all, and it'll all point back to your heart. And so when you feel your heart, you recognize your heart, and you see your heart as this force, the armor comes off. And that's the point of what it means to armor down. You connect with your heart. And so what we do in Fourth Bell is we recognize our own heart. We practice feeling it. We practice essentially turning it on, engaging it. And then we use it as a way to kind of shift from whatever darkness we're in. You know, the darkness turns into compassion. You know, it's no longer an avoidance of suffering. It's the recognition of suffering and the opening of the heart towards the suffering and changes it to love. And so even in the darkest moments, even in the times when it feels like everything's falling apart, there's a refuge. And that's your heart. Let's finish up here. So let's just repeat the phrases. May I have ease with my mind. May I be at ease with my body. May I be at ease with my heart. Just repeat those three phrases with your inner voice. Now, shift so the heart is projected towards the other than you. May you be at ease with your mind. May you be at ease with your body. May you be at ease with your heart. You know, what you're trying to do is not think about someone, the other, but the projection of your heart, your goodwill beyond you to the other. Whatever that represents, look for the feeling of the heart moving out towards the other. May you be at peace in your mind. May you be at peace in your body. May you be at peace in your heart. Now we, as one, beyond me, beyond you, into we. May we be at peace in our minds. May we be at peace in our bodies. May we be at peace in our hearts. Be intentional about finishing. 2 rounds of breath, second exhale will do. Just focus fully on that first inhale, all the way in, all the way out, then all the way in, and all the way out. Second exhale finishes. So that's agency. Agency doesn't change the world, making the world different. Agency is just the practice of interacting with the world as it is. Agency is recognizing the ego for what it is. It's not something to be destroyed or ignored or pushed away. It's just something that's capabilities are recognized, kind of like water's wet. The ego does this. Ideology is tricky. Ideology is complex. Ideology takes understanding, learning, and knowledge. So I hope that you recognize your ego for what it is, and then I hope you kind of explore this idea that culture is playing a role, power structures are playing a role in how you understand the world around you. Not good or bad, just is. You understand. You understand language. You share language. It just is. And so you have to kind of recognize that. And what do you do about that? Well, that's the practice. That's 4 bells. That's why you're here. I'm glad you're here. And it's a wonderful thing to recognize that you've got the ability to armor down and the path to do it. So I encourage you to keep working at it. Keep working at it. All right, armor down. See you next week.